The world has entered a new year with a lot of hopes and anticipations of great things happening. And we, here at the International Cell of Sri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce, are committed to upkeep those anticipations. We present to you a new thing, or a new season, say, of Alumni Talks. Here in the season, we would be talking to some alumni of the colleges who have made their marks to some of the top notch quality institutes on the global map. So, welcome, my fellow minds. I, Manan Sehgal, pursuing BCom. Along with me is Mr. Taranjeet Singh, pursuing economics honors from the college. We are hosts for the day. And along with us, we have a very young, dynamic, and a sharp mind, a BCom honors graduate from the college, a ACCA aspirant, and a student of MSc Accounts and Finance Management at University College Dublin. Welcome, Simmerpreet. Welcome to the show, and thank you for taking
Thank
out your
you.
time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Simmer. So, Simmer, the whole talk would be divided into two parts. The part one I would be taking care of, and Taran would take care of the second part. The first part would majorly deal with your academics and educational experiences, and the second would deal majorly with your work-life balance. So, are we good to go, sir?
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
Great. So, Simmer, like when I come across my friends or my seniors, they and who wish to study abroad, they usually have choices like on the major basis of Canada, Australia, but you set an offside example of going to Ireland. So, why and how it was Ireland?
Yeah, so basically, this is one question that whenever I talk to any of my juniors, or rather my fellow mates, this is one question I often get that most of you can say that most of my batchmates or most of my seniors prefer going to countries like Canada or US for that matter, that established countries having modern economies. So why did I go to Ireland? So I'll give you three major reasons. One of the major reasons that I went to Ireland is Ireland's education system is ranked amongst the top world's 5 institutes by IMD. So
Okay.
basically, you can say that most of Ireland's top institutes are internationally ranked, be it University College of Dublin, University College of Cork, Trinity College. So these are some of the top-notch institutes, not only recognized in Europe but internationally recognized. Another major reason which I basically pursued me to go to Ireland was it's an home to the world's top-notch international MNCs, be it Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pfizer, you name the companies. All of them have their European headquarters set up in Ireland. And another critical reason that it's an English-speaking country. So basically, if you see in Europe, most of the countries they have their specific set of languages. For example, in Netherlands, most of the residents prefer to speak Dutch. In Germany, most of the residents they prefer to speak in German. So Ireland is an English-speaking country, which is another advantage. And one of the most critical reasons that I went to Ireland is one of, I guess, the only countries in Europe that offers a 1 year master program. So if
Okay.
you see, comparing it to Canada or US for that matters, they have, I guess, 2 to 4 year of master programs. So if you compare the cost of living and the cost and the return on investment that you'd get pursuing your masters or for that matter your undergrad, Ireland offers a much more better opportunity. So yeah, these were some of the reasons that I wanted to go to Ireland.
And indeed, if these factors are prevalent somewhere out there, and so it happens to be a clarity of choice, obviously.
Yeah, yeah,
So for that matter, I guess University College of Dublin was chosen because the rankings obviously did matter.
yeah,
So Simar, now that I've been a part of college, when I talk to some of the faculty members, they're like, okay, when you talk about being active at the college, you see Simarpreet being active
yeah.
at both the academics, the co-curriculars, not just only in the college campus, but across the Delhi University circuit. So uh, that was of co-curriculars. Now that you have been in Ireland, how do you see the education system of both the countries, and which one do you prefer?
So comparing the education system of both India and Ireland, actually, I'll be very honest with you. India as a country has a pretty unique education system comparing it to any other country abroad. We
Okay.
basically still prefer a rote education system. So I'll give you an example to make things clear. In India, we are given a specific syllabus. For
Hmm.
example, we are taught concepts in our college, and then we are given a set of questions. Like most of my fellow mates and most of the colleges in Delhi University, most of the students study and prefer from 10 years. They try and practice the previous year examination questions. So rather than focusing on the overall concept, we actually focus on getting marks. and Indian education system is based in a way that we get judged on the basis of our marks. For example, if you're scoring a 90 or 95%, you're a 90 or 95% scorer, it increases your chance exponentially of getting a job, or for that matter, getting into top-notch institutions. Now, comparing it to Ireland or for any other country, so one of the most you can say unique factor is, first of all, a person can pursue any career, or he or she can get into any line. For example, if you want to go into music, so there is specific master program for music. You want to go into sports, for that matter, there's a specific master program for sports. So these are some of the opportunities that still are, I guess, in the nurturing stage in India. However, if you go abroad, these are quite developed, so you get a lot of choices. And another difference, or you can say another critical difference, is that the Ireland education system, for that matter, it's concept based education system. So we are not given a specific syllabus. Our exams can be conducted, for example, if I'll talk about my program, MSc in accounting and financial management. So in my modules, I am just taught the concept, and it will be basically an OBE. We are allowed to use the net. We are allowed to use books during our examinations, because the questions can basically come. They'll be from the concept. So there's no chance of getting a repeat question from the previous years, or there's no chance of getting a question from a direct textbook. So yeah, so these are some of the crucial differences if you compare it to India, because in India you have a general or tendency to have a general idea of the questions. However, in Ireland, or for that matter in Canada or US, you don't have this specific idea. So yeah, it's quite different.
So the three takeaways were that it's more practical based, it's more specific, and it's basically something new to when it comes to the global education.
Yeah,
that's good. So, Tarun, sorry, Simar, one last question from my side is that since the application process of getting into foreign universities is quite long, it usually takes some months, and it also some requires prior work experience. So does it slows down the process of graduation or anything like that?
So if you talk about going to abroad, most of the students, for example, so there are two categories of students. One is the type of student who wishes to go abroad right after completing their graduation. So my advice for them would be to start applying from the month of September or October. For example, if you're graduating in the month of May, so the sooner you start applying to major universities, the better your chances are of going through them. And I'll advise you to start applying from September or October because of two major reasons. Your chances of getting a scholarship exponentially increases if you are one of the early candidates, or you can say one of the early birds. Because if you see, most of the, I'll talk about Ireland itself. Ireland top-notch institutes, most of the programs, I guess, till the month of December, I guess 60 to 70% of the programs are full. So you can see that within 3 months of your application, majority of the programs would be full. So it's much better if you wish to pursue your masters from abroad, you start applying early. And the second category of students are those who want to take a work experience and then they want to pursue their masters from abroad. So for them, it would be better to at least have a work experience of, I guess, 1 to 2 years, because when you have this amount of work experience and you start applying, it not only increases your job prospects abroad, but it also gives you a much more clearer view of the opportunities that you would be getting over there. So yeah, for those who wish to pursue their masters right after their graduation, I guess September and October would be the right basically months to apply for.
So the concept of early bird also applies here, that the early you do, the better it is, and
your chances
one has to take time. It should not be much more than 2 years. Yeah. So that was it from my side, Samar. Thank you so much for answering. It was great.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, Simar. So in the next part, now we'll talk about the stuff about related to finance and your lifestyle there. So my first question to you is, like every student is curious to know, like what is the average per year cost if you are going to study in a foreign country? In your case, in Ireland. Now, how a person could fund his or her education there?
So talking about Europe, since it's a 1-year master program, majority of your fees would hover around, I guess, 15 to 20,000 of euros. So converting it in Indian rupees, if you take the rate of, I guess, €1 is equivalent to 90 rupees. So that would be close to 15 to 20 lakhs of academic fees. And I guess 10 to 12 lakhs, if you're talking about in Indian rupees, that is of your cost of staying over there. So if you're talking about Europe, I'll give you a general idea. I guess close to 25 to 30 lakhs is the total cost if you wish to pursue a master's from Europe. That's a general idea. However, majority of the Indian students, since like in my case as well, I know majority of Indian students who get a good and handsome amount of scholarship if you are well involved, because Delhi University is a university that is recognized internationally on a global scale. And we have an advantage that Sri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce is, I guess, one of the top most ranked colleges of Delhi University, especially for commerce students. So it helps you quite a lot. And if you're, for example, I was pursuing ACCA. So if you're pursuing a professional degree or if you have an experience, I guess that also increases your chances of getting a handsome amount of scholarship. So you can easily get a scholarship of around 50% in your academic fees. So that will not that will easily reduce your expenses from by quite a handsome amount. For example, if the total cost is around 30 lakhs, if you get a handsome scholarship, your cost will be around 20 lakhs. So this is one aspect which I guess I'll suggest my fellow juniors to focus on, that you start applying early, and then you, if you are giving, for example, GMAT, or if you want to pursue like if you are pursuing ACCA, ACA for that matter, or any other international degree, that will also increase your chances. And even if you're not pursuing any professional degree, try to be more involved in the college. For example, you guys are involved in the international cell, so try to be more involved with societies, try to take more initiative in the college. For example, in my days, I was involved with the students union. So if you are involved in all these activities, it increases your chances of getting a scholarship. So this is one way of reducing your expenses. And most of the international students, they pursue some part-time work, and part-time opportunities are available in abundance. I'm not only talking about Ireland, but if you also talk about Canada, US, majority of the international students, they tend to balance their work life along with their academics. So that also plays a crucial role. You are able to fund yourself over there. So yeah, this also plays a crucial role. And talking about the funds, I guess most of the international students, either they take an education loan, which is not quite a difficult process for students, because nowadays majority of the Indian, because talking about Ireland in particular, majority of my Indian friends, they have taken an education loan. I also took an education loan, so that's quite a easy process if you want to pursue. And talking about the cost, and if you compare the return on investment, you'd be able to repay your loan if you get a handsome job, in no more than 3 to 5 years. So, and considering our age of 22 to 20, because most of the international students, they are between the age of 22 to 25 when they wish to pursue their masters. So by the age of 27 or 28, you'd be earning a handsome amount without any loan on your head. So yeah, this is one benefit that you can actually go for.
So my next question is, as you were just talking about the job opportunities available for students. So
Yep.
what kind of part-time job opportunities are available for students? And you also took up a part-time job. So and how do you manage a balance between your work and studies?
So talking about the part-time opportunities, and you just want me to talk about the part-time opportunities, or you want me to cover the job prospects after a master's as well?
Firstly, the part-time opportunities.
So talking about the part-time opportunities, you have a lot of opportunities over there. For example, the departmental stores. So Europe has a concept of departmental stores. So in departmental stores, you can easily, if you're from financial background, you can easily get a job of a cashier, or you can easily get a job in the accounting department as an accounting assistant, where you will just have to, I guess, work in the finance of the stores. So that pays quite a handsome amount. And so you can work in the finance department or the accounting department of departmental stores. There are numerous other opportunities, be it a delivery boy, be it working in fast food chain restaurants. There are numerous other opportunities, and there are other students, for example, in my college. So majority of the top-notch colleges, they offer a position of a teaching assistant, for example. And the benefit that we Indians have of other students, so in Ireland, like, we are coming University of Delhi has English as its teaching module. So since we are fluent in English, you can go to a specific university in abroad and you can actually teach English as a teaching assistant, or you can make notes for other Chinese or from students from other backgrounds who do not have English as their first language. So that pays quite an handsome amount as well. So yeah, talking about part-time opportunities, there are loads and loads of opportunities. And balancing, the second aspect to your question was how do I manage my academics and work-life balance. So international students in majority of the countries have the rule of working 20 hours in a week. So this is the limit in Europe, and I guess this is the limit in Canada as well, that you can work for max 20 hours a week. So majority of the international students, they do not work for 20 hours. And I'll be very honest with you, even if you work for 10 to 12 hours a week, you'll be easily able to manage your expenses and even save some amount. For example, talking about Ireland, if you're working just 12 hours a week, uh, taking the average wage rate of 10 euros per hour, you'll be easily able to earn 120 to 150 euros in a week, which is close to 600 euros in a month. And if you're earning 500, 600 euros a month, you'll be easily able to pay all your rent on your own, which is the most major expense when you're staying abroad, the rent. So this is one thing that you can do. You can work your weekends. You can just work, for example, in my case, I just used to work on the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday, 4 hours, 6 hours, as per my choice. And you can easily manage your time if you are studying regularly. If because there are some other students for they prefer to study on weekends, so they can work on their like in the regular weeks, because your classes won't be going from morning to evening. Your classes, but you will get a specific timetable, so you can easily manage your time depending on your timetable and depending on your schedule. So in my case, I used to work on my weekends, and that's not difficult to manage. If you and I'll give you an example. We are from GGS, so in GGS it's difficult to manage time as compared to
Mm.
studying abroad, because in GGS we're involved in a plethora of activities, be it our college, be it our academics, your society, your meetings. So in GGS, it's you get this experience of managing your time. So yeah, that comes in handy when you're pursuing a master's from abroad.
Okay, so my next question is like, if it's my first time visiting a foreign country and I don't know anyone there, how difficult is it to find an accommodation for yourself? How did you manage to find one?
So accommodation, yeah, this is, I guess, one of the Achilles heel of Indian students, or for that matter, for any other international student, because the first and then the most important thing for us while finding an accommodation is to find your accommodation through trusted websites, and try not to give any advance deposits to students, to for that matter, because majority, if you read about majority of the internet scams that happen, or majority of the international students, most of the students who do not actually have any known in the country that they're going to, so they try to book an apartment online. So even if you're booking an apartment online, just try to pay a token amount and try to pay it via a trusted website which has got like good reliable review. And in my case, I was lucky enough that my elder brother is in Ireland as well, and he's settled over there, so he helped me quite a lot in finding the accommodation. So in my case, I was lucky. But talking about my friends who have gone to Canada, one of my friends is in Ireland along with me. He's from GGS as well. So giving me the, it's quite no, I won't lie, it's quite difficult to find a good accommodation, but you can anyways change your accommodation once you're in the country. You'll get good amount of time to find accommodation over there. You can go for visit, and it's not that difficult for you to shift, because you'll just pack your suitcase and then you can move in right away. But yeah, from India, I'll just always suggest my students, my fellow juniors, always try to find an website, always try to find an apartment through a trusted website, and not through like word of mouth, or not by contacting students, because it won't help you. Because majority of the accommodation owners, they'll be asking for a rent, or they'll be asking for a deposit, and if you're not careful enough, you'll lose quite a hefty amount. So it's better to search your accommodation through, because and most of my friends, they actually have this idea of Airbnb. Airbnb is prevalent all across the world. So what they did was they booked an Airbnb for 2 weeks, like prior going. And Airbnb, the best part is that you can pay when you reach the apartment. So they paid their deposit once they reached Ireland, and then they were able to find a suitable apartment within 2 weeks of them landing. So this is also one suggestion that you can take.
Great. So my next question to you is, it might be a bit odd to ask, but we often hear cases of racism with international students, especially with like with Asian and European countries. So have you experienced any kind of racism there, and or seen your fellow students go
So
through that?
I'll okay. So talking about racism, I guess I'll look. So the thing is that Ireland is one of the safest countries all across the world. It's like ranked, I guess, in the top 10 one of the world's most friendliest countries. So luckily, I have not experienced any kind of racism in Ireland. To be very honest with you, But okay, so I'll give, you can say that it also depends upon different circumstances. I have seen my fellow international students going and provoking, like if you go and provoke an individual who's a citizen of the country, so obviously the laws are made in such a way that they are going to support, or you can say that they are bent a little bit towards the citizen as compared to you. So you have to be careful you do not I guess you you have to be a little more careful when you're in India as compared to abroad, because after all, when we are in India, it's our home country, and you'll obviously feel safe. You have your family around, you have your friends around to take care of you. So even if something happens, you have people to rely upon. This is not the case abroad. You just have to take care of yourself. So it's much better to be careful. And talking about racism, I haven't experienced, luckily, any such incident in Ireland. Be and Majority of my international friends, or most of my friends, they have not experienced such incidents, because Europe, comparing it to like other parts of the world, Europe is genuinely really safe, and people are really friendly, and you won't they accept you as part of them, and they won't provoke you. They won't I guess they won't disturb your peace of mind if you want to stay alone, if you want to like uh, just travel. So I don't think that they disturb you, or for that matter, racism is not that prevalent in Ireland, and luckily I have not experienced. So yeah.
So my next question is like, did you took help from any of the educational consultants available in India? And if yes, are their services really worth it?
So yeah, so this is also one question that I get a lot. So I'll for my fellow juniors, I'll always give a suggestion to take a help of a professional, be it a professional consultant, or be it any other individual who's over there who's related to you. So this will help you in two aspects, because once you're applying, because most of the students have this thinking that no, I can do it. I'll just read the process online and then I'll apply it on my own. So even if you're applying on your own, the biggest disadvantage that you will face is that you're applying for the first time, so you won't have an idea of like what are the areas in which you can go wrong. However, the professional consultants, or for that matter the individuals who are there, who are settled over there, they'll give you much more clearer view at how you can basically apply, or these are the areas where you can go wrong. And the services offered by them, I guess the biggest advantage or the biggest USP of the services they offer is they have an idea of this is the area where students tend to go wrong. For example, in scholarships, majority of the students tend to apply for scholarships from the month of March, and most of the scholarships are filled till that point of time. The consultants will help you in drafting your application in such a way that it would increase your chances of getting a scholarship. And also, I guess the most important and the most critical aspect of taking a help from a professional is most of the international universities who are, I guess, top ranked, be it Harvard, be it Cambridge, USCD, London School of Economics, the King's College, they have this process of getting an SOP and then an interview. So you have to basically clear 2 to 3 stages before you get your desired program. So the professionals, they will give you an experience. They have an idea of the questions that the universities would ask you, and they'll also help you in drafting your application in such a way that it increases your chances of shortlisting. So I'll always suggest it's better to pay 5,000 to 10,000 bucks to a professional and be selected in your dream university, rather than just applying on your own by saving 10,000 bucks and you won't land nowhere. So it's better to take a help of a professional, because they have this idea. And even if you do not want to take the help of a professional, just try to take a help of an individual who's there in the country, or who's there in the specific university, because they'll also have the same general idea. So yeah, it's better to take your help.
Okay. My next question is like, after you're done with your masters, do you plan to stay there or do you plan to come back to India? If you stay there,
So
like what are the conditions for work permit and PR? But if you come back, what is the value of your degree back in India?
So, okay, in my case, talking about myself, I'm lucky enough to have job offers in my hand currently post my masters. So I'll be staying over there. And talking about international students, you have this in Ireland. So this is also one of the big advantages of Ireland as compared to Canada, or for that matter for other countries. Ireland offers you a 2-year work permit just to find a job post the completion of your masters. So you have like close to 2 years just to find a job in any industry, and it's not just restricted to your industry. For example, if I'm applying a job, if I'm pursuing my master's in accounting and financial management. So it's not necessary for me to just find a job in the accounting or finance industry as a whole. Even if I find a job in the sales, marketing, trade industry, so my visa will get automatically extended. So this is one benefit that Ireland offers. You get good amount of time to find a job. And talking about the value of pursuing a master's and coming back to to your home country. So if you talk about the top-notch universities, they actually offer you master's program or research-based programs, which gives you exemptions in any other program which you wish to pursue while coming back to India. For example, talking about this program that I am pursuing, it gives me like exemptions in ACA, in ACC, in CPA, CFA, whichever course that I wish to pursue. So even if I wish to come back to India, I want to start my own venture. I wish to pursue a job in any of the big MNCs. So this is one big advantage that I'll be getting, or a student who's done his masters from abroad will be getting as compared to the domestic candidates, that he or she will be having quite a good amount of exemptions in any other professional degree that he wishes to pursue. Also, if the better institute you graduate from, or the if you can say, just talking about Canada as well, if you are graduating from a top-notch university, once you return to your home country, it increases your value as a human resource. And companies and big MNCs today, they just want to hire the best possible resource for a particular opportunity. So obviously, if you're graduating from the top universities, it will exponentially increase your chances of getting a job in India, or getting a better opportunity than you're just getting right now. So yeah, these are some of the benefits when you are pursuing a master's from abroad.
Okay, so lastly, Simran, before we end this, any advice or message you have for your friends back in India?
So from my friends back in India, especially from my juniors, those who wish to apply to Ireland or for Europe or to Canada for any other country, just don't be hesitant, be really clear. And I guess one of the messages that I get from my juniors, that I'll miss my family, I'll be really homesick, and I don't have this habit of living without my parents. I don't have this habit of living without my brother or my sister or my friends. I'll miss my domestic food and everything. So I'll just tell you one thing. Obviously, it's really difficult for challenges faced by international students are like really, really difficult to manage. But I'll tell you one thing from my own personal experience. If you're clear about pursuing your masters from abroad, or if you're clear about achieving a certain title in your life, and if you've worked hard towards it, it will actually help you a lot in it will increase your chances of achieving success quite early, uh, if you are not following a traditional path and everything. So yeah, this is one message that I like to give my fellow juniors, that be clear when you're applying for masters from abroad. Don't be hesitant, and don't be afraid to ask out for help. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts, reach out to your seniors, reach out to people who are settled over there, reach out to your professors. They are all there to help you. Because I'll talk about my own experience. I was also once a student who wanted to go abroad and who had a lot of questions. So I'll always available for my juniors, and for that matter, I guess most of the GGA sites and most of other people, they are also available. So please reach out to people, and don't be hesitant and don't be afraid. All the very best, those who wish to apply.
Thank you, Simran. It was so great talking to you. Like the experience you have shared
No
today, I know it will create that. It will solve the dilemmas of many students back in India.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
On this note, we end today's episode of Alumni Talks. I would like to thank everyone on behalf of International Cell SGGSCC to view our video. If somehow our initiative helped you, then please like, comment, and share this video so that it reaches maximum potential students. Also follow us on our social media handles for more such valuable content. Thank you.